Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, presented by Park University, and what a successful weekend across the board for the teams we focus on the most. Of course, we do many issues regarding football with Stan Weber and I, longtime football expert, former quarterback, and just all-around good guy and fun partner to have for 2 decades on now as the Kansas City Chiefs with another routinely brilliant day at the office, and Patrick Mahomes turns what looked like it might be a day-long dogfight into puppy chow in the second quarter as he goes wild in that second quarter. And all 3 local schools are winners on Saturday. Missouri expected, Kansas far from expected, and Kansas State really in gritty, gutty fashion, overcoming some mistakes and getting their job done as well. The first time that the 2 Kansas schools had won against Power 5 opponents on the road since 2006, and of course you can cast most of that blame on the Kansas Jayhawks. We'll talk about all of it as we continue with Stan. Coming up next, right here on Danny and Stan's Football Weekend, and it's brought to you by Park University.
Before you spend your time and money going after an MBA, ask yourself why. Is it so you can tell people you got your MBA? So you can add a line to your CV? So you can call it a CV instead of a resume? Truth is, any MBA will do that. On the other hand, if your goal is to learn how to successfully manage and grow a business with real-world insights from experienced professionals, well, consider getting your MBA from Park University. Our low student-to-teacher ratio gives you personalized attention, and our face-to-face and online classes offered in 8-week terms are designed with working professionals like you in mind. No wonder the Kansas City Business Journal ranks Park University as the top MBA program in the area. Classes begin June 10th at all 4 KC area locations: Parkville, Downtown, Independence, and Lenexa. Visit park.edu to get started.
We're here with Joe Spiker of Easton Roofing. And Joe, oftentimes people will wait to replace their roof until there is a weather event. What should they know about that?
Well, Danny, the important thing to remember is if you're going to turn in a claim to your insurance company, you want to make sure that you actually have damage on your home. If you turn in a claim to your insurance company and they send an insurance adjuster out, it's going to be a claim whether they give you $1 or $10,000. So it's important to make sure that you actually have damage on your home before you turn that claim in. And all you have to do is give us a call. We'll come out, take a look, and make sure there's real damage, and we'll tell you if there's not. Maybe it's just a small repair and it's not worth a claim. So it's always smart to get somebody you trust to make sure there's damage before you turn in a claim.
Quality advice and guidance from Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. Get a refreshing change of your expectations of a sports bar and restaurant at the 23rd Street Brewery in Lawrence. Matt Llewellyn's welcoming spot at Clinton Parkway and Cassold covers all the bases, like their own handcrafted beers and all the televisions you need for great sports viewing. But it's the large, varied, and delicious menu that stands apart. From a favorite of mine like the awesome ahi tuna appetizer to great sandwiches, outstanding pizza, and truly fantastic entrees, the 23rd Street Brewery has it all. Matt and his friendly staff make it that much more enjoyable. Food until 10, fun until late. The 23rd Street Brewery is a can't-miss stop when you are in Lawrence. Stan, another great football weekend, and I guess it was great around here. We didn't have any top 25 matchups of 2 teams against each other. Actually, it was a fairly quiet day of college football. But in the pro football ranks, let's start with the Kansas City Chiefs. Their job one, story one around here. And I'm sure the fans are never going to think this, but you should sort of expect that we're not going to see competitive football when the Kansas City Chiefs play football these days. It's always nice for the fans to have an easy time of it. I was thinking the other day about a team. There was some team that was playing, and they hadn't lost a home game in, it was a soccer team, that's right. They hadn't lost a home game in, like, their last 68 games, so the fans are going to the stadium every time, just like it's a Broadway show. They know the ending. It's sort of like Kansas at Allen Fieldhouse. And that's sort of where we are with the Chiefs. I mean, they spot Oakland a 10-0 lead. Oakland completely dominated the first quarter. And then just in a flash, the Chiefs score 28 points. Patrick Mahomes throws for over 300 yards in a quarter. And the Chiefs are off and winging and really didn't do much the rest of the day. But they're electrifying, and I'll break it down more specifically with you. But it's just, we're probably going to see 10, 11, 12 of those this year.
Every season's a new season, I think, Danny, so I can't go back to last year immediately and say we know what we're going to see. But now after 2 weeks, you're starting to run into some conclusions like you're talking about with this Chiefs football team. First of all, I want to start with, to give full credit to the Chiefs, John Gruden is locked in and ready to roll in year 2. He's more ready to coach his team than he was last year. Derek Carr has done a nice job of recreating himself and being a confident, good quarterback, throwing the ball accurately, doing a great job checking at the line. I mean, he's checking at the line as much as any quarterback in the league right now. And he's on the same page with John Gruden. The fans in Oakland brought it. They could say this team's a bum team and we hate everybody anyway. Why don't we hate our own team? They're not winning. They haven't won a home playoff game in forever. We're not going to have another home game in another month and a half. They're taking games around the world and they're going to Vegas. No, they brought it and said this is a rivalry. They really were behind their team with a rookie running back. The Raiders really did a great job in playing the first quarter. They gave themselves a real chance to win. And then all of a sudden you snap your fingers, and at halftime you go, this game is over. And I hope that anybody who's a fringe football fan who may like soccer, like you, Danny, say, well, tell me about this football. Let me watch it. Well, if you watch the second quarter, you're like, I love this stuff.
Right.
I mean, this is fun.
Right.
And if you're a Chiefs fan and you got nervous at all, and I think you should, this is a new season. You're playing 2 games on the road. You're 1-0, but there's no guarantee you're going to be 2-0.
Hill's out. Mahomes has a bad ankle. Looked like he had a bad ankle, really, in the first quarter.
Well, the thing was they got pressed. Mecole Hardman, for instance, didn't run the right route. Instead of having an easy first down over, Romo did a good job of talking about how he faded out of his route a little bit, just going 2 yards further downfield and being a little slow coming out of his route. Patrick Mahomes talked about it, said he put a little head fake in there extra, and Patrick's like, dude, just run your route fast. Don't worry about the extra head fake. If you're not open, I won't throw it to you. But if you are open, you got to be there because I don't have all day in the pocket. And they just go to the sideline and you go, that is a rookie mistake. They're just not quite on the same page. Mahomes is still great. Andy Reid's calling the right plays. But you make a mistake here and there in football, and suddenly you got a punt. That all just ended in a snap of the fingers at halftime. The Chiefs had it completely under control. The plays that Andy Reid is drawing up and calling, he has 200 plays he can call, but picking the right one at the right time is amazing. The adjustments on the field. And then Patrick Mahomes just to calmly deliver the ball right in stride, on target, to whomever the receiver is. They have all different speeds, sizes, techniques, and he just lets it loose and delivers the ball. I mean, there was one touchdown that didn't count.
Right.
Hardman had a TD that was beautiful and making you think like, hey, maybe not having Hill here's that big a deal. We got another speedster. So it was incredible. The Chiefs played at a high level. When the game was all over, it's beautiful for new football fans to watch. It is so much fun for Chiefs fans to watch, but it is fantasy land that's not fantasy. They're this good on offense, which overwhelms everything else. How's your field goal kicker doing? Doesn't matter. How's your punter? I don't care. And how about your defense? I'm not sure that matters when they play this way. It's going to take a bad day, weather, and all those things to come together for the Chiefs to not be this high-level football team. And you just jump ahead, Danny. After 2 weeks, it has become crystal clear that we have 3 teams that are playing for the Super Bowl opportunity in the AFC. Obviously, the Patriots and their play with their new quirky wide receiver, whatever you want to talk about, Antonio Brown, is going to work perfect if he doesn't get in more trouble and do something stupid. But on a football field, he's awesome. Brady is hugging him like they've been together forever, which Brady always does. Brady only cares about what you do on the field. He doesn't care about anything else. So there's a connectivity there. They're throwing the ball to him. So the Patriots, obviously. Then the Chiefs. And I'm not putting in that order. It could be Chiefs and then the Patriots. But those are the 2 elite teams. And the Ravens, interestingly enough, are the other team that has a chance. They play with a different style. With Lamar Jackson's running and being able to control the football a little bit more. He's fine passing the football, but they run the ball. They have a defensive mentality, and they're good on special teams. The Ravens should not be disregarded as a team that can play for the Super Bowl, but wipe everybody else out. Steelers, done. I think they're done because Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell were no longer there. But now you can say Roethlisberger's hurt as well. Pittsburgh's not going to make the Super Bowl. I was respectful if they would have made the playoffs last year that they would have been hard to beat in the playoffs. But they're done this year. You look around, there's no one in the AFC that can compete with those three top teams, and probably no one that can compete with anybody but the Chiefs and the Patriots. It is such a weird feeling because I'm slow to say, let's see the season develop. Can't make hard conclusions in week 2 and all that. Forget all that. The Chiefs' offense is so good that if Patrick Mahomes is available, it's Patriots-Chiefs or Chiefs-Patriots. Get ready for the AFC Championship game.
Let's do a little micro. Take us through 2, 3, all 4 of them if you want, those touchdowns. They're dialed up, so the only one of them was a particularly great throw. They were all fine throws, but, I mean, they didn't have to be. One of them, actually, Robinson was had to slow down and to catch the ball, but that's what you do when a guy's wide open. You make sure you don't overthrow him. That's maybe part of his maturity, too, because last year he would occasionally overthrow a guy who was open deep. But how are these play designs? Is it just that there's too much weaponry out there, or what's Andy Reid doing? Like the first one, the one that really, you can say you can't make too much of it, but they almost had to Oakland almost had to get ahead 17-0, really. I mean, and they couldn't let the Chiefs score and sort of get that feeling back fast. And just the easiest of touchdowns, how did they dial those up?
Well, there has a great understanding of football by Andy Reid, first of all. They do have weapons. There's no doubt about that. But they don't have Tyreek Hill, who's an exceptional weapon out there who can scare anybody. So they didn't have Tyreek Hill go in motion. They had another person go in motion. But when they went in fast motion, so you don't have a lot of time to decide, they put the players in a bind to have to work together and coordinate to get every receiver. And so many people are worried about the quick, accurate passing down the line. That's not easy to do. But Patrick Mahomes, when he delivers the ball on the uphill shoulder on the run, you can have a 3rd and 7, throw the ball out, and the Chiefs go make it look easy. So the linebackers are really concerned. We got to get over there, or a safety's got to step up. And they just ran four verticals, and it's a great pro concept. 4 verticals, 4 guys running deep, 1 on the left sideline, 1 on the right sideline, and then 2 basically down the hash. And if they're playing cover 3, even though there's a third of the field and it looks like they're in good shape, the quarterback has windows to throw it in. But when they go in motion, and if a safety at all is tentative, thinking maybe I need to get to the flat, they let a guy run free. And that's what happened. I mean, I could have thrown that ball in there and had a decent chance of getting a touchdown because it was well designed. It put the Raiders in a bind. Now, the other part of this is that they had to figure out throughout the first quarter what were the Raiders' weaknesses. The Raiders came in, took a chance, set their defensive tone, and did some nice things. And the Chiefs said, okay, if that's what you're going to do, here's how we beat it. But the big thing is let's don't ever underestimate and not give credit to Patrick Mahomes' understanding of football. Peyton Manning, we always give him credit about understanding. But Patrick's so good and so talented that we don't ever want to forget that he understands the design. So he knew who to look at to say who's in a bind. And immediately goes, oh, that safety is steadying himself, worried about the flat, so I'm not going to throw the ball to the flat. Now that I got 2 verticals, which one's the safety closer to? He's on the one on the right or the left. He's closer to the one on the right. Bang, decision's over, easy throw, and he's walking in end zone on the left side, interior guy. It's everything. It's Andy Reid drawing it up and understanding it, but it's Patrick Mahomes understanding it. And that throw most NFL quarterbacks would have hit. Alex Smith could have hit that first one.
Right.
Because it was all about design. Now, would Alex waited another half? What Alex would do is wait a half second longer to go, okay, I got that safety taken care of in my description,
right?
But I'm going to look at that cornerback to the left because I'm going to make sure he doesn't undercut and pick this off. And then he's going to say, oh, now he's coming. I better throw the ball low. And then he would have made the receiver stop. Robinson would have to stop at the 10-yard line and got tackled at the 8. And no interception. But, Patrick just goes, got it, throw it, easy. So that was Andy Reid to Patrick Mahomes' brain. That was a brain play, not an athletic play. But after that, Danny, once you start having positiveness and you get the other team on their heels, there is a mentality that, let's take Alex Smith. Alex Smith's a good NFL quarterback, but he thinks there's danger. As the ball goes 20 yards downfield, there's danger. 30 yards downfield, there's even more air under it. There's more time. There's more danger. I just talked about how a corner who shouldn't be there might come underneath the ball, okay? That is a very conservative mentality most quarterbacks and coaches have. But if you were out there as an official, let's say you're the back judge back there who's deep with the free safety, you know what you notice? 53 yards wide is a long ways. And those linebackers really aren't that close to the safeties. And suddenly when you look at the 15, 20 yards downfield and further, there's a lot of green grass.
Right.
It's a whole different mentality. Those defensive backs are in trouble, Danny. There is so much green grass back there, and they don't know what the route's going to be. They're running next to a guy. They don't get a chance to look up for the ball. As soon as you change your mindset that I'm going to throw an accurate ball and it's not going to be intercepted because there's a lot of green grass and my guy's going to see it and fight for it, I have nothing to lose. Wow, it opens up your mind to be dangerous. Not many guys think that way, but I think the Chiefs do. The touchdown right before the half, where, they threw, is just a back shoulder throw. I'm not sure that Patrick really meant for it to be a back shoulder throw, but I think he said, we have nothing to lose here. I'll throw it up, and Robinson just reaches back and makes it look easy, and everyone's confident. Like, why wouldn't it work?
Right.
It starts with, and I've seen this a lot in football, 90% of coaches and quarterbacks, even pros, look at the danger. Very few go, there's a lot of open space out there. Once you're willing to throw the one-on-one ball up, Danny, with confidence, guess what? Every time I add a degree of confidence in my brain, I know this, and I wasn't even a very good passer. Every time I added a degree of confidence, the ball was more accurate. Right. But you can't trick yourself into confidence. You see what I'm saying? Right. I could say, Danny, I know this equation. Next time I throw it, I'm going to be more confident. No, I can't trick myself. When I'm looking at the scene and go, ooh, this could get picked off, Alex Smith can't change his mindset. Patrick Mahomes is like, oh, wow, it's one-on-one. Why wouldn't we complete it? And then he suddenly even throws a more accurate ball, a more on the spot, hitting the numbers. It's amazing. And Andy Reid has taken this raw talent, and man, he has all the talent in the world, and put intellect in there. So he's the perfect balance of instinct and intellect to go out and let it go. Peyton Manning didn't let it go. Peyton Manning didn't assume, oh, this is going to be easy. I mean, he calculated it out in his mind. Patrick's natural. But he knows I got a green light. I mean, it's like Andy Reid's in his head going, oh, yeah, you can make that throw, that one-on-one throw. Don't worry about the defender. He looks like he's right on him. But what throw it up there. He'll slip a little bit, and by the time the ball gets there, I bet our guy's open. Why not? 27-yard passes. He had 6 straight 27-yard completions or greater in a row. Not completions, attempts. Every time he threw it, it was complete. 5 in a row in the second quarter, 1 into the third. You just don't see that.
No.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Talk a little bit as we head to this week about Lamar Jackson and his development. He isn't a traditional-looking thrower, but the ball does seem to get there, and he seems to be refining it, and he's a truly great runner. And I've always said it, and I think we've talked about this before, running the ball from the quarterback position is the best, the easiest. Like a lot of times people say, hey, that guy can't throw. Why don't they make him a running back? Well, because he's a great runner for a quarterback, because you got a lot of extra spaces. People have to account for other people. They don't necessarily expect you to run.
You can decide if you want to run.
Right, exactly.
It's totally different.
But anyway, he is a fine runner at quarterback, and that adds a completely different dimension. And right now, at this point in his career, he hasn't got Robert Griffin the third and gotten hurt or anything, so he's willing to be reckless and go out there and throw his body around. That's a dangerous weapon.
He is a dangerous weapon, and John Harbaugh doesn't get enough credit for being a great head coach. I've said with you many times, Danny, I think it's the worst group of 32 head coaches or NFL head coaches that we've ever had in history the last couple of years. I couldn't split the hair if it's last year or this year, but they're not good. But John Harbaugh is really up there, and one of the things that he is able to do is manage the psychology of the human beings. We give credit to guys in the NBA, the Phil Jacksons of the world, the Steve Kerrs. You think about those superstars. No one thinks they're like coached crazy. It's more like, I can work with these guys and get them to achieve their highest level. If you're a Zen master like Jackson or whatever. John Harbaugh does that in football. He doesn't worry about the credit of, oh, I'm a defensive guy, I'm an offensive guy. Remember, he was a special teams guy.
Coach,
yeah, but he's a great head coach. He has more composure than his brother Jim does. He's not as quirky. The players believe in him, but he does a great job of calculating what gives us the best chance to win. And what they've done with Lamar Jackson is last year they put him out there because the quarterback got hurt, so they said let's give it a shot. And they threw the ball some, but they basically were the contra offense, do things that everyone else doesn't, make him a running quarterback and hurt him in that way, and that was fine. But they're not going to win a Super Bowl doing that. And I think John Harbaugh just calculated it perfectly, and I think he's come to this conclusion. Guys, he's a great running quarterback. Let's use quarterback run game. Let's keep them on their toes, the opponents, and worried about it. But let's call passing plays like it's the NFL. And you know what I want Lamar to think? You know what I'm going to say to him every time? You're a good quarterback. Throw it. Don't worry about interceptions. Because again, I'll go back to Alex Smith because he's a successful quarterback. But when he was a number 1 draft pick, he had like 4 coaches and different offensive coordinators every year, and they beat him up about what he couldn't do. His brain was wired to never let it loose. They don't want Lamar to get into that mode.
Right.
Lamar Jackson could be a good quarterback 10 years from now and just try not to lose the game. That's not the best chance for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. Now, if they had Ray Lewis and Ed Reed back there still, they may just say 15 passes when we want on 2nd and 4, play action only. Lamar Jackson, first of all, throws a good ball.
Yeah.
Then he's a good passer. He throws a very accurate spiral, but he's just not he's not a refined, I can drop back and throw the ball every day, understand every concept.
Just doesn't look normal. It kind of looks like he's flicking the ball a little bit.
Yeah,
but
and
so
I'm sure he's not reading everyone perfectly, but they're doing a smart thing. They are not worried about, they say, we got good enough defense. Our special teams are awesome. Don't worry about it. Just throw it. If you think he's open, don't double check. Throw it. And if you throw it right to them, we're not going to be mad at you. They've opened his brain up, and guess what? Hey, I just went over this. The more confident you are throwing, the better you are at throwing it accurately. So Lamar Jackson is not last year's version of him at all. He'll throw the ball. They'll come out and run a more normal NFL set, and they don't want him to take quite the hits that he did because he needs to make it through the whole 16 games. Last year, their back was to the wall. They're trying to identify themselves again away from Flacco. This year, they're good. I put them in a category, like I did, of being a possible Super Bowl participant, and he is going to throw the ball. We'll see if he gets himself in trouble, but right now he's got a good, nice dual threat attitude, and the Chiefs can't just gang up on the run because he'll throw the ball as well. So I really like where the Ravens are right now. They're a good team, and I think John Harbaugh is very good at just calculating, here's the pros, here's the con. We're not the perfect team, but here's what we got to do to have a chance to win.
And also they'll come in having known that they probably should have won the game here last year. I
mean, it's a confident bunch.
Hey, that game was one of the Pat Mahomes' real signature comeback games, and so they'll have plenty of confidence.
Yeah, you got to have confidence to the nth degree because you're going to be pressed. There's going to be adversity. The best example is the Raiders. The Raiders gave themselves a great chance. I mean, from A to Z, they came in the game saying, here we have a plan. We think we can attack the Chiefs' defense. We really believe in Derek Carr. We got a running game, and we're going to have to use it. We got to do all these things, and we can be successful. I think they were correct, but their confidence wasn't deep. As soon as the Chiefs punched him in the mouth in the second quarter, it was over. I mean, the Raiders went to halftime going, there's no chance. The Ravens don't do that. You're not going to break the Ravens mentally, and that's a key thing in the NFL. No one should respect the Patriots that much.
Right.
Are you kidding me? We're pros. Even they beat you. No, don't respect them, and the Ravens are really good at that.
Let's talk college football coming up next. Great weekend for the locals and stunning victory for Kansas, and in a different way, a stunning victory for Kansas State. Missouri took care of business the way they were supposed to. That's with Stan coming up next on our Danny and Stan's Football Weekend presented by Park University.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
Looking for a truly unique escape from your normal entertainment or corporate team-building regimen? Stay tuned for an exclusive offer only for Reasonably Irreverent listeners. I'm excited to tell you about an extraordinary destination, the Exit Room, located in the heart of beautiful downtown Lee Summit. The Exit Room is a distinctive entertainment option that offers a cool alternative to the normal couples night out, family get-togethers, and corporate team-building events. The Exit Room is a one-of-a-kind boutique escape room catering to special occasions and corporate team-building events and is unmatched in the Kansas City metro. With 5 individually designed and varied escape room adventures, your party or employees can unplug from their electronic world, interact with one another, match wits, and ultimately escape the humdrum of the ordinary. The Exit Room adventures cross decades and centuries and create fascinating fun. I know the owners well. They are local folks, their staff is warm and friendly, their lobby is inviting and beautiful, and their adventures are award-winning. Check online. There are over 1,000 reviews, and note that they are a rare 5-star ranked business. Visit their website and Facebook page, and any of my listeners who books online at theexitroomkc.com using the promo code ClinkScale19 gets 10% off any ticket purchase. The Exit Room in Lee Summit. Unplug, interact, and escape.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
I was duped, and I recommend you be next. For better or worse, the ultra-realistic impression of me sits now in my wife's office to spook her on a daily basis. So what is Doob? D-O-O-B. It's the keepsake of a lifetime, a 3D-generated, incredibly lifelike figurine. 66 cameras take an image at exactly the same moment in any pose, and state-of-the-art 3D technology transforms that into exact replicas of you, anyone you know or love, a pet, whomever is close to your heart. Create lifetime memories with a Doob. Visit their Facebook page at Doob 3D Kansas City, or better yet, see their incredible creations. Visit their location down on the plaza in the heart of it at 231 West 47th Street in KC Mo. Doob, be next. Sumner One is the company to make your office maximize efficiency. Their family of companies make up one of the largest independent dealers of office technology in the Midwest. They are proud to bring the best service and technology to top companies across the region. Sumner One can help your organization run more smoothly than ever. Sumner One printers, copiers, MFPs, managed print services, document management, infrastructure design, IT services, disaster recovery, and business continuity. Welcome to the one place where everything works. For more information, call Carl Little at 913-752-2256. Stan, what a weekend of college football in our area. Let's spend 30 to 45 seconds on the Missouri Tigers. 27-0 at the end of the first quarter. Cruise it on, put 50 on the board. Take it easy on your in-state opponent. Run for 339 yards, I believe it was. And just what you're supposed to do. Don't let the game be in any way, shape, or form competitive.
Right, and even more important, if Missouri were undefeated right now, it would be kind of a boring game and almost a detriment to have to play SEMO before you get into SEC play with South Carolina. It'll be fun to see a real live SEC team out there, and chances are, there's some real chances for Missouri to make hay in this Southeastern Conference East Division. So, but they lost to Wyoming, so it is time to get better. There's room to get better and to cleanse yourself. And what you got to do is you got the 12th ranked FCS school in the country, so it's a legitimate football team. And then secondly, they're a school in your state, which means they're going to bring everything and have great pride in competing. And Missouri just squashed all of that from the first play and said, welcome to Mizzou. I hope you guys take pictures afterwards and get your selfies, because you did in your life play right here at Mizzou on this field. So make sure you get that big press box in there and the Tiger, because this is going to be great for your grandchildren. But no one asked you to come play here, and there's a reason why, because we're some bad dudes and you are not. So it was exactly what they needed to do, and they need to get a little swagger, because right now they're going to be the favorite to beat some teams. And they should never overlook them, be cocky, take things for granted. They did a little bit of that against Wyoming. But it's okay to have a high confidence level. Like, this stuff works, and there's no doubt that what we're doing works, because they should never think about Wyoming. No one should mention it to a player. Hopefully Mizzou players are not listening to this podcast, because they should never mention Wyoming. It's too far in the rear view mirror. Start winning. So I thought they did. I think it was important to just go out and dominate, have things work, and say, we are the same team we thought we were going to be after week 3.
Kansas State goes to Mississippi State, and if before the game, and I heard you on the broadcast, I think, referencing this exact thing, if you said before the game that that Kansas State was going to muff a couple of punts, that all 4 of the big mistakes that they would make would directly lead to the 24 points that Mississippi State scored, now maybe you would think they'd score more if there were 4 big mistakes, but you probably wouldn't have thought with the mistakes K-State would make that they would not be able to win the game. And the flow of the game. When it's late in the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter, I'm watching the game and I'm thinking, K-State gave it a go, and they really came out and played good football at the start, but they're worn out. They're done. And they didn't. They rallied the troops and won and looked like the better football team.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack right there. K-State was the better football team, and the first muff punt, K-State, if they would have just caught it, it was the up back. I mean, it was like a high school punt that threw him a curveball. It's like a baseball pitcher throwing a changeup and a major leaguer whiffing at it. K-State fumbled the ball. Otherwise, they would have had the ball at Mississippi State's 45-yard line. The Bulldogs had not scored or threatened K-State, and K-State had all the momentum in the world. Could have easily gone down and taken a 13 or 17-0 lead, and instead it changed. And I've never seen a game where you've muffed 2 punts and had an interceptor running back into the territory, kind of deep into South Mississippi State territory, and then fumbling back to him. But they did overcome that. At the end of the day, Mississippi State had the game flow the way it needed to win the game. They weren't as good as K-State. K-State was doing things to them and dictating to them, playing better SEC football at the line of scrimmage than the SEC school was. But they had a 24-17 lead. It's a hot day, and K-State had lost a little momentum. Their offense hadn't been out on the field very much. How's K-State going to fight back from this? Well, it's pretty cool that you look back to the Bill Snyder days. How about a kickoff return for a touchdown? Boom, they did it. It was tied 24-24. And then it was a reset button. Who's the best team the rest of the way? And it was K-State the rest of the way.
Sure was.
When you watched it, if you said, who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to score first, you kept thinking, I'm surprised if Mississippi State's the first one to score because they are not as good as these guys. So a big win. So many things answered. Can K-State's offensive line run the football against a legitimate front? Well, Mississippi State's front is as legitimate as any team in the Big 12 because it is SEC football, those big tackles and the things we talk about, the difference makers. Mississippi State does not have a bunch of NFL first-round draft choices, but it truly is an SEC defense, and K-State found gaps, outsmarted them, and the line came off and busted them right in the mouth. So you can just answer this question. That K-State running game is going to work. And then after that, is the passing game going to find a way to find its worth as well? And I think as long as Skylar Thompson's playing at this level, and after game one, I said, whoa, that is an improved quarterback, but show me it again in week 2. Now after 3 weeks, I think we found a level of Skylar's play. It's at a high level. And so I think now that K-State's passing game is going to be fine. The defense was the real question mark going into the game because they hadn't been pressed. You realize they only played 85 plays in the first 2 games?
Right.
And I thought they looked in control the whole time, Danny. They didn't look outmatched. Sometimes there are plays, even in Bill Snyder's era, where K-State would win the game. When Patrick Mahomes' Texas Tech team was playing out there, I mean, seriously, you look and go, whoa, that guy just gained 15 yards, and the K-State guy barely shoved him out of bounds. But if he could have kept his one step in bounds, no Wildcat would have caught him, or K-State caught a break. It never looked that way. K-State's defense never looked like they were lucky to make a tackle on that play. It's hard for me to judge how good they are, but they're a lot more solid than I think you could expect them to be going into the season. So there's a lot of things going well for K-State. K-State's ready to play what is equivalent to an NFL-type schedule, meaning the competition's pretty equal. Every week should be a 7-point spread or less until you play Oklahoma. I mean, there are no bad teams in the Big 12. I know we're ready to talk about Kansas, but welcome fans to the statement, there are no bad teams in the Big 12. But there are beatable teams across the board. I don't know how good Oklahoma is, but I know Texas is right in the range with the rest of them. So every week when you pull the Big 12 schedule out, I started scrolling through that over the weekend, Danny, after the games, and I just started laughing because I love looking for big games. And if there are 5 games in the Big 12, usually you can throw away 1, possibly 2. 1's a super game, 2 are really good, and 2 are like, I can't really make them. I can make them sound good, but it's not.
Right.
I'm going down and going, oh, that's an Iowa State at Baylor. Ooh, that's who's going to win that game? Right. Texas, Oklahoma State this week. Who's going to win, Danny?
Right.
I don't know. So the story is really going to be who can win the close games. And is K-State the big extra bonus here is they were in that situation down in the fourth quarter with no momentum on the road against an SEC opponent that's ranked, and they found a way to win. If they keep doing this, they could win a lot of games.
Right.
Because every game is basically going to be pretty close to 50-50 the rest of the way.
And they seem to get this treatment every year, but they start off the schedule in the Big 12 with a rough go. I mean, they've got a challenge, 2 games in a row.
Yep. Starting at OSU. I mean, it's funny. During the Bill Snyder secondary, had 10 years, and I think he got 3 home games to start and 7 road. So, you put that chip on your K-State shoulder. The Wildcat fans are good at pointing out those kind of things.
Sure.
But it is going to be a tough game at Oklahoma State. And some of the most thrilling football that if you just were a neutral fan and you want to watch some ball, K-State at Oklahoma State.
Right.
If you go back and look over the last 3 or 4 times that they went, you can go all the way back to 2011 with Colin Klein. I think they played a 45-41 game, and K-State was inside the 10 and lost. And I'll take it even further. Josh Freeman's Ron Prince K-State Wildcats had a shootout. Probably Josh's best game or second best game as a K-Stater was at Oklahoma State. They lost a close one. So it's been crazy down there. It'll be a fun game for people to watch, and it's going to be great to see how K-State tries to physically impose their will. K-State is a better SEC-style team than Mississippi State. Think about that for a second. I feel comfortable saying that. Will that style work in the wild, wild Big 12 where, it's not so much about that front four, it's about that secondary and those other 7 guys? The Big 12 wants to play on a different part of the field. Remember I talked earlier, if you're listening,
green grass.
There's a lot of green grass back there. Big 12 coaches believe that. But K-State's an SEC-type team. How much of that physical pounding and that belief in the running game, how much of a difference will it make? This is rock, paper, scissors.
Right.
I mean, K-State's they're using scissors, and K-State's saying, "I hope we're a rock to bust that scissor."
Well, Kansas certainly looked like they were going to get scissored up in that game, and it's 10-0, and nothing's going right. And after it's 10-0, they'd punt it again, and then they score, and the 4 long drives for touchdowns and just obliterate Boston College the rest of the way out of nowhere. I mean, and you really have to. Their offense had been moribund, to say the least, in the first 2 games, both, and especially in the second game. And then here we go. And it wasn't like Puka Williams ran for 250. I mean, they always run the ball nicely, and you love Herbert, and he had maybe the biggest play of the game as they're trying to really run out the clock, and he rips off an 85-yard run, and Kansas scores right before the half. I said it to you on Saturday. It's one of the most remarkable results in a sports event that I can remember, period. The unexpected nature of it, I mean, I've heard many people, it was a 3-touchdown spread, and almost everybody's like, Boston College will cover that easily. This is route time. And it was a route the other way.
Right. Well, we talked about during the week, last week, what would be success for Kansas, and it was to be away from total demoralization. Don't let a Coastal Carolina poor game put you in a position to get crushed because you got a chance against West Virginia. You have a chance to win a home conference game, and there's a lot of season left. But thinking about beating Boston College, when they have a star running back, you just think, hey, they can hand the ball off. They have won a game against Virginia Tech. They played legitimate an opponent already, and they're playing at home. But Kansas just took off and really showed their colors. What are they? Very, very good running backs. Khalil Herbert running the ball looked like Patrick Mahomes passing it. When he got the handoffs in that game, it wasn't a question of like, hey, 5 or 7 yards is a good run, especially for KU. He was running for 30 yards. I mean, there was no doubt. As soon as he got the ball, he makes the perfect cut. The offensive line's got some veterans out there. The play designs were really nicely done. He had some green space, but he was just taking off like as a punt return. When they pushed him out of bounds, it's like, wow, you guys are lucky you pushed him out of bounds because if that guy wasn't at that angle, he was going to house this thing. And then Puka Williams is, in a lot of ways, I think Herbert's better than Puka, but Puka does give you this. You never know when he might break it. There was one play, KU was dominating Boston College. I mean, they were pounding him. And finally, Puka got the ball running to his right, and there was a defender. And he made a bad decision and ran backwards. He spun around and ran backwards to the left. And now there are 4 guys, and now 6 guys, and 3 on each side, and he's dead. I mean, this is a minus 7-yard run. He should have just taken his -2. He spins around, and he's so hard to tackle, he gets back to the line of scrimmage by cutting through right down the middle, went right over the center. But he has that unbelievable, I'm not sure we're going to touch you in touch football, so I don't want to discredit how dangerous he is, but Herbert has a better feel for just running the football. Right. Anyway, they got two of the best backs in the league. They have 2 of the best backs in the league, and what the coaching staff realized, I believe, is that while you want to lean on 2 great backs and an offensive line that you can trust, when you're Kansas, that isn't going to work. If you limit the field between the hashes and say, we're going to physically do some good work up front, and we're going to have these best backs you can imagine beat you, there's just not enough room for them. You've put them in, you've taken your fish and put them in a fishbowl instead of putting them in a pond. And I think they did a great job of saying, no, we don't need double tight end in here and fullbacks moving around in front and playing LSU football. The best thing for these backs is to spread it out, make it seem like you're going to pass the football, throw it enough to keep them worried about it, and then give these guys the ball on some cute little, fake pass draw, those kind of things. It was well designed. Les Miles deserves a ton of credit for not panicking on Carter Stanley.
Right.
Through 2 games plus. Everyone said, why didn't you panic?
Interception early.
He's just totally said, no, this is our quarterback. We're going to be fine. But they are willing to make adjustments. He's telling that team, believe in yourself. One thing we went into last week not knowing about, Danny, was the defense. How good is Kansas's defense? I did not see indications that they were awful, that they were going to get run over. But you aren't going to jump on and say, I think Kansas's defense is great because they lost to Coastal Carolina.
Right.
And Indiana State, they did okay. So I was really impressed when the latter part of the third quarter and the fourth quarter played out. The most impressive thing was the defense, because every time Boston College tried to run a play, they fake, hand off, then fake a screen to the right, and then throw it back to the left. These are kind of plays that work often. And if you get the ball there, suddenly the guy gets 10 yards, you might break it and go for 60. I'm telling you what, Kansas's defender was knocking the ball down so easily that if the quarterback would have thrown an inaccurate pass on a screen, it would have been intercepted. They were everywhere where they're supposed to be. So I thought that was a great sign. I've been higher on KU's talent and the psychological part of their brain that could be flipped on like a light switch. It's on off. I mean, there's off and then there's basketball off. Right. KU's got basketball off. But Les Miles is opening, he's getting away from basketball, and suddenly he's starting to flip that switch where they look around and quit looking at your helmets in the mirror. Look out of your face mask and say, can we win? Quit looking and saying, I'm a Jayhawk and we're going to lose.
Right.
Les has done that. He's stayed calm throughout this whole thing, even though a loss. And I don't think their talent level's that deficient to the rest of the Big 12. I don't. How much difference is there between Iowa State and KU, Danny? You know what there was last year? David Montgomery at running back.
Right.
And a wide receiver, Hakeem Butler, that was a freak.
Right.
Go watch the KU-Iowa State game, Danny. Here, for KU fans, if you want to say, this is crazy, go watch that game. I think Iowa State had 2 or 3 big plays.
Right.
Otherwise, it's a dead-even game in Lawrence last year.
Right.
Play after play after play, it was dead-even, and I like Brock Purdy. Okay? I think they have a good quarterback. So there's not as big a deficit in the talent. They just need to have the belief. They may have got it against Boston College. Now the next thing is don't celebrate too much. Don't act like you've made it. Let's go back. When was the last time Kansas did a great job and won a game that made you do backflips and think everything was fine? Turner Gill beat a ranked Georgia Tech team.
Right.
Remember that?
Right.
That was a good game.
After they
Kansas
lost
looked good.
an FCS game.
Yeah, and they really look good. And you go, okay, here we go. And they let their guard down and then didn't get it done. They've got to concentrate. They don't have to beat West Virginia. They just need to play them. Play them. Like K-State played Mississippi State. If K-State would have lost, I would have went away going, that's crazy. 2 muffed punts and a whatever. But I would not have been down on K-State. I go, they're fine. We need to finish the game after Kansas is over and go win or lose. They're ready to compete with everybody. They're not going backwards.
Right, because West Virginia did look pretty good. I mean, a lot of people didn't think that they had much, and they played a good game.
They got players who know how to win, Danny,
right.
And they got a good coaching staff. But they're learning. It takes a while for these coaches to learn. And, oh, by the way, they don't have preseason games. I know the NFL chose to not play preseason games this year, but the colleges don't have them. West Virginia is not nearly as bad as everyone wants to make them out. Either is Kansas. Texas isn't as good as everyone wants to make them out. We got 9 teams that could have a pretty darn good fight. And I don't know yet on OU. It's hard for me to pull them back in the pack. It seems so unfair. It seems so easy. We're talking more like, is this the 3rd straight Heisman Trophy winner?
Right.
Did you hear our interview, Danny, with Pat Jones last week on College Game Day on Sports Radio 810 WHP? If you didn't hear it, Pat Jones is so funny because he lives at Oklahoma and does a lot of work in Oklahoma. And, oh, by the way, he's not an OU guy. Not that he's down on OU. It's just he laughs when everyone has kept telling him, Lincoln Riley knows how to develop quarterbacks like no one alive. Look what he's done with Jalen Hurts. And he goes, Jalen Hurts just came from Alabama. He lost only 2 games. Right. You think he's coached poorly over there at Alabama? And so Oklahoma, with 3 straight transfers, might have 3 Heisman Trophy winners. So I'm not getting into the splitting of the hairs if Lincoln Riley's great or not. All I know is we may be able to take Oklahoma and put them on a pedestal and say the other 9 are messing around for other stuff. Oh, wait a second. One of them gets to play Oklahoma in a championship game. Right. And some people want to think it's automatically Texas. Should be. But if we were just in our own little world and they call it the NFL instead of the Big 12, this year's competition would be a lot of fun.
Stan, it's always a lot of fun with you. Let's do it again next week. Well, we get together twice a week, once on Sports Radio 810, as you say.
9 o'clock Saturday.
And obviously our podcast here on Monday or occasionally Tuesday. Danny and Stan's Football Weekend each and every week. Come on by to DannyKlinkscale.com for this and everything else you like.
This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like Easton Roofing, the presenting sponsor of Kansas City Profiles at the Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Easton Roofing, where integrity matters. We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new.